Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about your embedded assessment assignment, which is 1.1, and it's the checklist. Some of you are having problems with this, so I wanted to go back through this. I've talked about it in Google Meets, but you're still missing kind of the point of this assignment, so I'm going to make a special video for it. I am going to open this in Google Docs. And so now that it's open, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each part of this so you know how to answer it. So right here is your assignment for your whole embedded assessment. Your assignment is to write a reflective essay explaining your cultural identity. Meaning, who are you? So who are you? Meaning, where do you come from? What are some things that make your family who they are? Is it the belief, like if you're from Texas, that you value God, family, and guns? Or is it something different? So that's what you're going to be writing about, your cultural identity. Not when you were born, the date you were born, how many siblings you have, all of that. That has nothing to do with your cultural identity. Your cultural identity is, what are the traditions that your family has? What is it that your family does together that maybe society thinks are normal or not normal? So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to answer these questions. Because I call it a checklist, you think all you have to do is just put yes, no, checks over here. But this is actually for me to see if you've actually done what you're supposed to be doing and you have these things in your rough draft and in your final draft. So this very first question, did you generate ideas about your culture that might help convey your sense of identity? I've given you an example of what I'm looking for to answer this question. Did you make a web, a mind map, an outline, a list? How did you generate ideas? Just starting to write is not a form of pre-writing. Making lists, things like that. So in mine, I showed you I did an outline. So that's my answer to the first one. Second one, have you included your sense of cultural identity? Well, I told you my family is from Texas and California. So yes. Have you compared your sense of cultural identity to that of your parents, your peers, or even strangers? Are they different? Are they the same? Well, I have compared my cultural identity to my parents. For my parents, it's pretty much the same as my parents, but there's different in the fact that they're more creative than I am. Like, they can see it in their mind and create it, where I need a pattern. I have to have a format. I can't just create something from my mind than I am. Okay. How does cultural conflicts, whether internal or external, influence your perceptions or how you see things? So cultural conflict, well, not all my family gets along. Probably the same like yours. Is it because they believe in something different than what maybe my mom and dad do? Or is it a cultural thing, meaning society thinks one way and your family does something different? So for my family, there's West Texas thinking and East Texas thinking. There's also UT versus Texas Tech. So Thanksgiving is quite interesting in my family. So there is some cultural conflicts there because not everybody on East Texas agrees with what everybody does in West Texas. And if you even talk to my family, you can tell which region of Texas they're from based on their Texas accent. So I have more of the West Texas Texas twang than East Texans, just for the simple fact that that's who I was around mostly. But my mom and dad are both East Texans. What cultural element, either as a metaphor or central idea, that you will focus on in your essay? So I'm going to focus on our celebrations, which includes food and festivities. So like Thanksgivings, and Christmases, and things like that. What will you include in your preliminary outline of organizational structure? Again, I'm giving you how are you going to put this together in a web, a mind map, outline, list. So again, this is going to be in an outline format. All right, with an introduction and conclusion. And then in the drafting and revising, how am I going to do that? So how will I use my outline, my pre-writing, to make sure that I've identified an introduction and conclusion? Well, I know for my very first sentence in my outline and also in my rough draft, I'll have a hook sentence. Maybe something about being born in California, or my Texas family being in the movies. So I'm not sure how I'm going to put a hook sentence together, but it's going to have something along those lines. And then how can I use the scoring guide to help know areas in need of improvement, such as cohesion of ideas, organizational structure, or use of language? So how am I going to make sure that it flows? Make sure that it all comes together. It's not just random things. Meaning, I talked about California in my first paragraph, talked about Texas in my second paragraph, talked about celebrations my third paragraph, and then my final paragraph I talk about being an immigrant from England. Okay, that doesn't flow together. Those ideas are not cohesive. They don't go together unless I can make them go together. So how am I using the scoring guide? Well, the scoring guide is actually in my resources. So if I go over here to my resources, this is my embedded assessment rubrics. Again, I'm going to open this in Google Docs. And I don't have to actually open it if I didn't want to. I could actually just look at it right here and say, okay, if I wanted to just glance at it really quickly, okay, there's my scoring guide. Has to have a central idea, significant range of evidence, cultural identity, organization. Does it have an introduction? Do I use various transitions like then, next, first, second? And am I doing it grammatically correctly? Meaning I have some convention of the English language. Like I capitalize the word or the letter I when I'm talking about I. So things like that. So that's my scoring guide. So maybe I need more. So when I do write my rough draft, I'm going to make sure that I have words like first, second, or then, or next, or something like that. How will you ensure that you make necessary changes to your draft as you refine your ideas? So I'm going to reread it. I'm going to have a friend read it. I might have my parents read it. Okay. That's just to make sure that any changes I need to do to make sure that my ideas are flowing, that I have cohesion of ideas, organizational structures all there. How can you revise for purpose and clear use of language, including syntax, parallel, structure, and phrases? How are you going to make sure your essay is grammatically correct and flows well? That's what this is saying. I put it in parentheses for you. And that's basically having someone else read it. Editing and publishing. Which resource will you consult to help you ensure grammatically correct sentences and punctuations? Again, I might use a dictionary to make sure my words are spelled correctly. And I'm using the right words the right way. I'm not using the wrong there or misspelling it in any way, or your. Okay, so and how will you ensure that sources are used correctly? Okay, you shouldn't have any short sources, but if you do, I am going to make sure to cite where I got it from and why I used it. Okay, I also am only going to use one sentence, not a paragraph, not a whole page. I'm also going to use one sentence from a source for my 5-paragraph essay. Okay, so you don't need a source. But if you're going to use one, then make sure you're going to do this. Okay? And that's how you fill out your embedded assessment checklist. You're going to answer those questions on how you're putting your rough draft together, your pre-write together. And then what are you going to do for your final draft? You're going to put all those things here before you ever write a single paragraph. Okay? Then I will go through and look to see that you've done all of these things. Yes, I know my battery is running low. So, this is my outline, not yours. So if yours looks like my checklist, you're going to get a 50 because you didn't do your own work, and that's the best you can get. And so this is just an example of how to put it together. If you have any questions, please let me know and email me. Again, once you have it together, then, assignments. Then you're going to submit it. And the way that you're going to submit it is you will go here to add or create, Google Drive, find the document you were just using, which should be right here. It's one of the first two documents. So actually it's, yeah, that one. I'm going to insert it, and then I'm going to turn it in. It'll ask for both of those, yes, and turn it in. All right, so if you have any questions, please contact me. Otherwise, I'm going to assume you know how to do this. All right, talk to you later. Bye.